The Hebrew Bible, known to Christians as the Old Testament, is a foundational text for Judaism and Christianity, comprising a collection of ancient religious writings that tell the story of the relationship between God and the Israelite people. It is a complex and multifaceted document, not a single book but rather a library of diverse texts, including law codes, historical narratives, poetry, prophetic oracles, and wisdom literature. The entire corpus is traditionally divided into three main sections: the Torah, or Pentateuch, the Nevi'im, or prophets, and the Ketuvim, or writings. This tripartite structure is known by the acronym Tanakh, derived from the first letters of these three sections. This vast collection of texts was written and compiled over a period of many centuries, with its origins stretching back to the 2nd millennium BCE, and its final canonization not occurring until well into the Common Era. Its pages contain not only a sacred history but also a profound exploration of human nature, morality, and the divine. The Torah, the first and most foundational section, consists of the first 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. This section is often attributed to Moses, and it lays the groundwork for all that follows. Genesis begins with the creation of the world, describing God's deliberate and ordered act of bringing the cosmos into being. It then narrates the early history of humanity, including the stories of Adam and Eve, the Great Flood and Noah, and the Tower of Babel, which explains the diversity of languages. The focus then shifts to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose lives form the etiology of the Israelite people. The covenant God makes with Abraham, promising him land and a multitude of descendants, is the central theological theme of Genesis and sets the stage for the rest of the Bible. The book concludes with the story of Joseph, whose life of hardship and eventual triumph in Egypt leads to the Israelites settling there, foreshadowing their eventual enslavement. Exodus picks up this narrative, detailing the Israelites' oppression under a new Pharaoh who did not know Joseph. This oppression sets the stage for God's intervention, a central theme of the entire book. The figure of Moses is introduced, chosen by God to lead his people out of bondage. The pivotal events of Exodus include the 10 plagues sent against Egypt, the dramatic crossing of the Red Sea, and the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. This law, contained in the 10 Commandments and numerous other statutes, provides the foundation for Israel's ethical, religious, and social life. Leviticus is a highly detailed book of laws, focusing on priestly rituals, sacrifices, purity codes, and regulations for worship. It is a manual for the priests and the people, designed to maintain the holiness of the community in the presence of a holy God. Numbers chronicles the Israelites' 40-year wandering in the desert after their departure from Sinai. The book's title derives from the 2 censuses taken of the people. It is a story of faith and rebellion, of divine provision and human disobedience, marked by episodes like the sin of the golden calf and the 12 spies sent into Canaan, whose lack of faith results in the long desert sojourn. Deuteronomy, meaning second law, serves as Moses' farewell address to the Israelites on the eve of their entry into the Promised Land. It is a powerful restatement and reinterpretation of the law, emphasizing the themes of covenant loyalty, divine election, and the rewards and punishments for obedience and disobedience. The book concludes with Moses' death, leaving the people on the threshold of their promised inheritance. The Torah as a whole is not just a collection of historical accounts and legal codes. It is the foundational narrative of Israel's identity, establishing their unique relationship with God and the principles by which they are to live. It is a living text that has been interpreted and reinterpreted for millennia, providing the framework for Jewish life and thought. The second major division, the Nevi'im, or prophets, contains the books that tell the story of Israel from their entry into the land until their exile to Babylon, as well as the messages of individual prophets. It is subdivided into the former prophets and the latter prophets. The former prophets include Joshua, Judges, Samuel 1 and 2, and Kings 1 and 2. These books are more than just historical chronicles. They are a theological history, interpreting events through the lens of the covenant established in the Torah. Joshua narrates the conquest of Canaan under Moses' successor, Joshua. It depicts the Israelites' military victories as divinely sanctioned and provides a theological rationale for their taking the land. Judges describes the period after Joshua's death, a time of tribal confederacy and moral decay. In a cyclical pattern, the people would fall away from God, suffer oppression from their enemies, cry out to God for help, and God would raise up a judge to deliver them. This era is characterized by political fragmentation and social disorder, culminating in the cry, "In those days there was no king in Israel, everyone did what was right in their own eyes." The books of Samuel recount the transition from this period of judges to the establishment of the monarchy. They introduce the last judge, Samuel, and the first two kings, Saul and David. The story of David is central to these books, as he is chosen by God to be king and establishes Jerusalem as the capital. The books of Kings continue the history of the monarchy, detailing the reigns of Solomon, the division of the kingdom into Israel in the north and Judah in the south, and the subsequent succession of kings, many of whom are judged as wicked for their apostasy. The former prophets culminate in the destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel by the Assyrians and the eventual destruction of the southern kingdom of Judah and the first temple by the Babylonians, leading to the exile. This catastrophic event is interpreted as God's punishment for Israel's persistent unfaithfulness to the covenant. The latter prophets contain the books attributed to the writing prophets. These are further divided into the major prophets Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel and the 12 minor prophets. These prophets were God's spokespersons, speaking to the people in times of crisis, calling them to repentance, denouncing social injustice, and warning of impending judgment. They also offered messages of hope and restoration, promising a future return from exile and the coming of a messianic figure. Isaiah is a particularly rich and complex book, containing prophecies of judgment against Judah and surrounding nations, but also beautiful poetry promising future deliverance and the establishment of a righteous king. Jeremiah is known for its intense and personal tone, as the prophet grapples with his difficult calling to warn a people who refuse to listen. Ezekiel, a priest in exile, has vivid and often bizarre visions that speak to the hope of a restored Israel and a rebuilt temple. The minor prophets, though shorter, are no less significant, each offering a unique perspective on God's relationship with his people and the nations. Books like Amos and Micah powerfully condemn social injustice and the oppression of the poor, while Hosea uses the metaphor of his own broken marriage to illustrate God's steadfast love for an unfaithful Israel. The Nevi'im as a whole is a testament to God's persistent engagement with his people, a record of their failures and his mercy, and a profound theological interpretation of history. The third and final section is the Ketuvim, or writings. This is a more eclectic collection of books, including poetry, wisdom literature, historical narratives, and apocalyptic texts. The Ketuvim begins with the poetic books, Psalms, Proverbs, and Job. Psalms is a collection of 150 prayers and hymns, expressing the full range of human emotion: joy, sorrow, praise, lament, and confession. It is the prayer book of Israel and has been used in worship for millennia. Proverbs is a collection of short, pithy sayings offering practical wisdom for daily living, emphasizing the fear of the Lord as the beginning of knowledge. Job is a profound theological drama that grapples with the problem of suffering, challenging the simplistic notion that suffering is always a direct result of sin. The book's central figure, Job, is a righteous man who loses everything and is forced to confront the mystery of God's ways. The next group of books, the Megillot, or scrolls, are read in Jewish synagogues on specific holidays. They are Ruth, Song of Songs, Ecclesiastes, Lamentations, and Esther. Ruth is a beautiful story of loyalty and kindness, highlighting a Moabite woman who pledges her allegiance to her Israelite mother-in-law and becomes an ancestor of King David. Song of Songs is a collection of love poems, often interpreted allegorically as a celebration of the love between God and Israel. Ecclesiastes is a philosophical exploration of the meaning of life, concluding that all is vanity, and that true fulfillment is found in fearing God and keeping his commandments. Lamentations is a series of poetic laments mourning the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. Esther tells the story of a Jewish queen who saves her people from a plot to annihilate them in the Persian Empire, a story notable for the absence of any explicit mention of God. The historical books of the Ketuvim include Ezra, Nehemiah, and Chronicles 1 and 2.
Ezra and Nehemiah describe the return of the exiles from Babylon and the rebuilding of the temple and the walls of Jerusalem.
Chronicles offers a retelling of the history of Israel from Adam to the return from exile, with a particular focus on the lineage of David and the importance of the temple. Finally, Daniel is a unique book containing both historical narratives and apocalyptic visions. It tells the story of Daniel and his friends in Babylon and their steadfast faith in the face of persecution.
The visions in the letter of the books speak of the end of time and the final victory of God's kingdom.
The Ketuvim, in its diversity, provides a rich and varied tapestry of human experience and divine interaction. It moves beyond the historical narratives and legal codes to offer a more personal and reflective look at faith, suffering, and the meaning of life. It is a testament to the ongoing and evolving conversation between the people of Israel and their God, a conversation that has shaped Western civilization and continues to inspire millions around the world. The Hebrew Bible as a whole is not just a historical relic. It is a profound and living text that has been a source of wisdom, law, and spiritual guidance for thousands of years. Its pages contain the story of a people's journey with their God, a journey marked by both triumph and tragedy, faith and doubt, obedience and rebellion. This story, in its many forms and genres, continues to resonate and shape the lives of those who read it.